Back again. I've just flashed this X8R with the latest firmware. That was the only firmware I had on the Horus anyway, so I don't think it's any different. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's worth a try. So that's now fired up. It's talking to, or the transmitter's talking to it. So again, go through the process of plugging in my CDI unit. That on. Oops, I didn't even get anywhere near it and I got a red light coming on. That's strange. That's even worse than before it was flashed. Although having said that, no, it keeps losing the signal. Not locked out.
RF signal critical.
So it is. That's locked.
Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered.
But recovered. So I wonder if I can keep repeating that. So I'm actually holding the spark plug over here. Let's go further away. I'm actually quite a way away now. I'm 600 millimeters away from the receiver. And I'm getting all sorts of interference on the receiver, albeit I haven't had the telemetry lost. Just up the throttle, as it were.
Telemetry recovered.
Lost out again.
Telemetry lost.
Yeah, it's locked now. Now the interesting thing there was that with the plug close to the receiver, there was interference, but it wasn't making the receiver lock out. However, when I moved away from the receiver with the plug, it was affecting it more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my other receiver now, and I won't switch off the recording. I'll get the other receiver and plug that in. It's just behind me in the drawer. Because one thing I didn't do when I was testing it before, I was doing an extreme test of holding the plug, the arcing plug, close to the receiver. And that is a fairly extreme test, and obviously in reality you won't get that. But what I didn't do was I didn't hold the plug outside of the close proximity to the receiver. So I'm going to do that now and see whether it was just coincidence that I got that fault on the previous receiver. No, I have to go very close to this receiver, and then the telemetry has been lost on that one. Okay. The other check I'm going to do, just to make sure this battery isn't playing tricks, I'll swap the battery over. Back to my Li-Fi battery. And let's do it again. No, with this receiver, it's not affecting it until I come close to it and now when I'm close to it I can get the receiver. There's a lot of interference now on the receiver there. Killed it. It's come back again, and as before this one is more tolerant or more resistant to it. It's an X8R again, the same software, same firmware build, but this one is a lot more tolerant to the noise. So yes, it's locked out, but only after me going very close to it. So that there's something different between these two receivers in terms of the tolerance. They're both susceptible to locking out. That's the one thing I can say. The one that locks out more readily, interestingly enough, is a newer receiver. Certainly this one is a well-used receiver. That was the one that was in the crash with the S-back. This is a much newer receiver. It's got the tape on it purely and simply because I opened the case up, and unfortunately when you open the cases of these things you can break the lugs off or damage the lugs, so I just put a bit of tape just to make sure it doesn't fall off. So that's an interesting one. The older build seems to be more resilient than the newer build receiver. How conclusive that is, I don't know. The only thing I can say really in summary of this testing is I am not going to use X series receivers in any of my CDI equipped planes. It's just not worth the risk. I can protect them with some litho plate as I did here, but hey, I'm not going to do that in a plane because as you've seen on previous tests, I can still induce a failure by running near the aerials, and it's just not worth the risk for the sake of a few pounds in terms of buying another receiver, an R-based receiver. That gives me peace of mind. These don't. I'll always be worried about these receivers in a CDI powered plane. So that really concludes my testing, of course, unless anybody else can think of anything else I can do.